From the Radio Cafe and the Quivira Coalition, you're listening to Down to Earth, the Planet to Plate podcast. I'm your host, Mary Charlotte Domandi. Today's program is a little different. We're talking about entrepreneurship and building grassroots food businesses that source food from local producers. We'll hear more about that right after these announcements. This program is sponsored by the Agrarian Trust. Agrarian Trust is charting a new path forward for the land trust movement. They're advancing an innovative and robust model of land ownership in which agrarianism, social and environmental justice, community well-being, and the earth itself are all seen as fundamentally intertwined. They're doing this by helping regenerative farmers and ranchers to secure long-term, affordable leases. That helps to strengthen local food systems and to transform community relationships to the land across the country. Visit agrariantrust.org to learn more. This program is sponsored by the Greenhorns. Listeners to Down to Earth might enjoy the newly released 6th edition of the New Farmer's Almanac, a literary miscellany written by and for working agrarians. This year's volume is titled Adjustments and Accommodations, and it's full of essays, poetry, and images that explore how people are facing challenges and uncertainties on the land. Learn more and order your copy at greenhorns.org. And now to our program. I'm very happy now to welcome Tina Garcia-Shams. She's Executive Director of the Street Food Institute, which is located in Albuquerque. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So this is a really interesting kind of enterprise that you've put together. And first of all, just like, what is street food? What do we even mean by that?
Well, I think a lot of people have different ideas or definitions. I think a lot of times, especially in other countries, street food is really, food that you get on the street. I think here there might be a little different definition. I think food trucks are often seen as street food. I think that...
Well, that is food you get on the street.
It is. It just happens to be out of a mobile kitchen. And so a lot of people also think of it as small bites, right? Small things that you can get.
Like a hot dog.
Like a hot dog or, a street taco or something like that. So I think there's kind of a lot of different definitions of what street food is around the world, really.
So a lot of what we're talking about and what you're doing has to do, or correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it has to do with food trucks specifically.
Well, it was how we started. So, we chose the food truck as a training vehicle.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. But it was really a way for us to train our interns and students who were interested in starting a small food business. They had different ideas. Some wanted to be caterers, some food truck owners, bakers. But the food truck was a great model to really support that internship and the learning because you're really doing everything in one small location.
So the Street Food Institute not only provides food and catering, but it is first and foremost an educational organization.
So we're an entrepreneurial training program. We work with individuals who want to start their own small food business. We do that through classes. We do it through hands-on work in the kitchen, and we do that through the internship. That was really the mission of the organization and the program. Along the way, we really also became a workforce training model because not everybody's an entrepreneur, right? Not everybody's ready for that step. But a lot of people came through the program, did the internship, and then were really able to go into the industry with some skills and some knowledge and some experience working in a kitchen. So that it also was a workforce training model that organically came out of what we were doing.
How did you get into this yourself?
Well, it just honestly by accident, I guess. I was teaching at Amyville High School. I was the community engagement director there, so I was building a lot of partnerships and working with students to get them into different types of service learning projects. And I had made the decision to leave, not really knowing what I was going to do. And I had a friend who I had known for many years and he was consulting on this project. And he called me and said, they're looking for a program coordinator. I really had wanted some time. My daughter was a senior in high school. I had lost a lot of my family. Just my dad had died, my mom had died, my sister had died. So I had had a lot of loss. And so I just kind of came into it. A lot of the work I did was partnership development in the beginning, because that's kind of what I had been doing already. And just over the years, kept moving into different positions. And then, we were originally a program under a foundation when we first began. And then at the end of 2016, we spun off and became our own nonprofit. And at that time, I became the executive director.
Now, was food always your thing?
To eat it? Yes, definitely. But not so much. I mean, I don't have a culinary background. I think food for me was so much a part of my family and so much a part of my tradition and culture that
New Mexican.
New Mexican, yes. Many generations. My family, mostly from down south, so Silver City, Mogollon was where my mom was born. Cuchillo was where my dad was born. So, it was a very deep, rich history, and food was at the forefront of that always, and it's how we came together. So I think that food for me was very much a part of family and a part of, sharing, but no formal culinary background at all.
Right. So for those of your students who get into, the Street Food Institute program and want to be entrepreneurs, it's such a complex system that they need to learn, because there's so much that goes into it. Where you source your food, and marketing, and raising capital, and hiring people. And I mean, it's a complicated business.
It's very complicated. And I think, what we have seen over the years is that people, they love to cook. They are really good at it. What they lack, or what they need more than anything, is the business side of things. And so through the 12-week program that we do, we really try to focus on a lot of those types of, that type of information. So kind of the idea of marketing, of permitting and licensing, of accounting. How do you cost your product? Where do you get your product? How are you going to make a profit? Because this business is not a big, it's a very slim profit margin. And so you have to really consider everything, right? I think the people that are most successful really take that business side to heart and really make sure their foundation is solid, and then can do the cooking part. But I think if you don't want to do the business side, it's going to be a real struggle to be successful.
That's a lot to cram into 12 weeks.
A lot. So I think, the one thing that we do, and I think we do it really well, is that we maintain relationships with our students for years. And so I always say at the beginning of class, because I always try to go to the first class. I don't teach the class. I have, my chef and chefs teach that. But I always come in the first day, and the first thing I say is, this 12 weeks is just the beginning. It's not the end when this class is done. So our goal and our commitment is to continue to support our students as they move through the process. Sometimes they're not ready when they end. Sometimes it takes them a year or two to then decide that they're going to do their own thing. And we're there once they make that decision. We've been there for students that have started and then are ready to scale. So maybe they purchase a building or move into a brick and mortar or whatever that might be. We really try to be there for consultation, to provide resources, and to connect them with resources.
How important is the food itself, like sourcing organic, regenerative, local food?
I think it's really important, and I think that you're seeing it more and more. I think what is difficult oftentimes is Because the profit is so slim, oftentimes I think small, very small food vendors have a harder time purchasing at that level, right? So we really try to encourage our students to set aside a percentage of procurement for local, whatever, if that's produce, if it's meat, if it's dairy, whatever that might be. And as they grow, they're able to kind of grow that as well and kind of continue to grow that percentage of local procurement within their menu. I think it's becoming a little easier because I think, consumers value that local organic food. And so it's easier to maybe cost it at a little bit of a higher level. But I think you also have to be really careful that you're not costing out a group of people, right? That people can't afford necessarily. I think also from a food truck, there is a cap. Most people don't want to pay $18 for a burger from a food truck. So you have to also know your demographic and really understand the market. So I think people see the value. Entrepreneurs certainly see the value. I think it's just a matter of trying to figure out, how do I do this in a way that is affordable and that my customer and the clientele are able to also afford it and that it's accessible.
So you are doing this training, but you're also providing food. You're a caterer, which I know because I went to an event that was so deliciously catered that I think I gained 3 pounds. So that's also part of how you're working and teaching?
It is. So it's also how we also were able to kind of support our own operation. So we're what's considered a social enterprise. So the money that we make through our catering, through our cafe, through the food trucks that we have, we put back into the program, right? So we are able to pay staff, we're able to purchase, we're able to maintain our equipment, those sorts of things. We're pretty much about 50% of our budget is through our revenue. And then obviously as a nonprofit, about the other 50% is grant funded.
Talk about some of the success stories that you've had. Your graduates have gone on to actually do some businesses.
Yeah, we've had probably about 40 businesses that have started at different forms. So I'll just talk about kind of the most recent, and it's on my mind because at 3:00 we're going to have a little ceremony. We had a young man and his brother who came through our program a few years ago. They were a barbecue. That was their concept. They came through the program. They did the internship with us. They started working for us because we're also an employer. A lot of our students that come through the program also become employees after their internship. So he, was working for us. He was kind of doing his business a little bit on the side. We had an idea of, because we have 3 food trucks, we had an idea of leasing one of the trucks out to students that weren't quite ready to purchase their own food truck. It's a big commitment. So he was our first student to take advantage of that. And in the process, we had gotten a contract with Intel. And it was, a Monday through Friday guaranteed amount of money to do lunch service out there. And this young man was working for us, and Intel was looking for additional trucks. He said, I'm really interested. He started leasing our truck. He started doing his business out there and it's been life-changing. I'll be honest, he went from maybe $15,000 a year to $300,000 a year just on this contract. He's now purchasing our truck for his own business. So it's kind of that progression of, starting, having an idea, taking advantage of the resources that we offer, and then really being ready when you're ready to take that next step. So we're incredibly proud and pleased for him to kind of be on his journey and being a part of that journey.
So he's serving barbecue to the employees of Intel.
He does. So he does barbecue. He does a lot of different things. So some days he's doing spaghetti, and some days he's doing his amazing brisket, and some days he does nachos. And so he's got a variety of things that he does. And it's really a family affair. His dad does the smoking of the meats for him, and he's got a staff now. So, what started out as a one-person job is now 5 people that he's employing. And so, that's a success, not just for him, but just economically for our community. I think that's a big win.
You're listening to Down to Earth. We have a little announcement. We'll be right back. The Quivira Coalition is excited to partner with the upcoming Old Salt Festival on the Mannix Ranch near Helmville, Montana. Join us in the beautiful Blackfoot Valley from June 23rd to 25th to celebrate ranching, wild landscapes, and the relationship between agriculture and conservation. Over 3 days and 2 nights of camping, we will enjoy incredible food, 14 bands, and a speaker lineup that includes David James Duncan, Deborah Magpie Erling, and Ed Roberson, who's been on Down to Earth. He's the host of the Mountain and Prairie podcast. Learn more and get your tickets at oldsaltcoop.com, and co-op has a hyphen in it, oldsaltcoop.com. And now back to our program. So, really, workforce development is part of this. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think, it's that, like I said, it wasn't really necessarily part of our mission, but it just organically became what we did. And what we see a lot is students that come from the culinary program at C&M who intern with us. Their experience is in the classroom and in a lab kind of setting. They haven't really had the hands-on working in a kitchen type of experience. So the internship it varies. It can be 40 hours, 90 hours, or 135 hours. So the students really work with us in the internship. They are part of everything that we do. So they work in the kitchen, they're prepping, they're sometimes customer service, sometimes they're running their own menu ideas out in the cafe. They work in catering with us. They work on the food truck. So they're really getting a full picture of what it means to be in a kitchen. And that's really the hope, right? As much as we want people to go on and start a business, I think it's equally important for them to know that this isn't necessarily their path. And it's a hard business, and I say this all the time. It is not easy. You are on your feet for hours. You are working in a hot space. You are working with a lot of people in a small place, and that can get really difficult. And pressure, depending on where you are, what you're doing, there's a lot of pressure with that. So I don't think it's meant for everybody, and I think it's important when people realize, I really just want to do this for my family. I like cooking. I don't want to do this necessarily as a living. And I think that's equally important for people to know, because before they go down a path of spending their, savings and getting into financial debt, that they've had an experience that they know either, yes, this is absolutely what I want to do, or I think I'd rather just do this for myself and for my family and for fun.
Are there skills, those who don't go on to be entrepreneurs, that they take from this training course into other things?
Oh, I think everything that you learn in the kitchen is transferable to everything else that you do, right? I think working under pressure, I think working in groups, multitasking, I think everything that you learn in the kitchen setting, you can really take, and as well as the business side of things, right? Anything that you're going to do, you're going to need to know, business, marketing, especially these days with social media, finances, taxes, those sorts of things. I think all of that is really important for whatever you're going to do.
You have been asked to teach not only in Central New Mexico Community College, CNM, but also in other places.
We have. So, we've been really fortunate. Last year, we received a grant from the Economic Development Administration, a federal grant. And one of the outcomes of that was to really try to spread our programming to other areas in New Mexico. And so we recently took our program and condensed it down to 4 days.
What?
And did a 4-day boot camp in Silver City and had about 17 individuals that came to the class for those 4 days. And it was an amazing experience. I think we probably enjoyed it more than maybe they did. It was really exciting to see what people's ideas and what they were wanting to do. We had the fortune to be connected to North Carolina State University in Cherokee, North Carolina. They had reached out to us about 2 years ago and asked if we would be interested in coming down and helping them put together a boot camp specifically for food truck people. And we did. And we went last November and we did this training, and it was really kind of the pilot for us to then be able to do it here. So that's great. We're going to be in Farmington in June to do that same thing. And really, I think it's really made us excited to be able to maybe do that in other places, whether it's in counties around New Mexico that might be interested, or other places around the country. In particular with places, community colleges that have culinary programs or entrepreneurial organizations that are supporting food entrepreneurs. We'd be really interested in doing something like that. We're going to be putting our curriculum online. We have never had that before, so that's a hope as well, that we will be able to get our curriculum out there online and accessible for other people.
Do you find that there are students who might not have a chance, who are basically self-made people coming through this and actually furthering themselves in a way they wouldn't have had a chance otherwise?
For sure. I mean, I think that was the whole point of the program when it first started. I think the goal was, how do we reach people that weren't necessarily going to go to higher education, but were motivated, right, and driven, and how can we support that dream or that desire to kind of start your own business? And that was really why we started the community side of the program, and really have wanted it to be open to anybody. Our goal was to really take away the barriers that existed and make it as easy as possible for people to join the program, be a part of the program. When we first started, we were doing the class bilingually. That was difficult for everybody, the translator, the teacher, the students. So we made a commitment this year to do the class in Spanish and really be able to work just in, have a Spanish-only class, so that was one less barrier people would have, right, that language barrier. So that's something that we're working on now and starting to recruit for.
Are there enough people to fill those courses?
We don't know. We're hoping. I think that through partnerships with other organizations that support, maybe immigrant community, we're hoping that we'll have students that are interested in taking the class that we can support through the program.
When people come out of the program and they say, I'm ready to get my own food truck, then how do they raise the capital? Because that's a real investment.
It is. I mean, I think there's a couple of different ways, right? So I think sometimes family, right? They work with family to get the money together to purchase a truck. Some people can go through the normal banking institutions for a loan. There are other types of loan programs through West, the loan fund, that do loans for entrepreneurs. We are part of an organization or a partnership with Nucinda. It's called Co-op Capital.
Nucinda Credit Union.
Yes. And we're able to do small microloans. It's not going to be enough to purchase a truck, but it can help you purchase equipment. And it's a relationship-driven loan program. So it's not based on your credit history. It's not based on, whether you've had a loan before. It's based on relationship. And
what does that mean?
Well, they apply for the loan through us. We decide if we believe they're a good risk. And then we tell Nucinda we believe they're a good risk, and they give them the loan. And then there's a payback system directly with Nucinda. And it's really been incredibly successful. We've had probably 10 students that have taken advantage of that. And it's been really great. I think that relationship piece is the part that makes it so successful.
Yeah.
So.
And nobody's defaulted.
Nobody. No. And
that's a good rate.
It is. And even, when somebody is maybe late on a payment, I just pick up the phone and say, hey, just wanted to remind you, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. And it's done. And that's because they know we took a chance on them. And so they're very committed to making sure that they're, doing right by that.
So is this something that you've seen in other places in the country, or is New Mexico kind of leading in this area?
We have not seen it anywhere else. I think it's why, places like North Carolina reached out to us. We've had students come to us from other states because they were looking for something like this. So we have had, a student that came a couple of semesters ago from Florida. On her own dime, came and spent 12 weeks here doing the class. We've had a young man that came from Italy and came and took the class. We had a woman who was doing a culinary program in the state of Washington, but there was no internship opportunity. She came and did our internship on her own dime. I think that says a lot about our program, but also the fact that maybe there's not much out there that people can access. And I just saw, yesterday, her truck is up and running. It's amazing. We're, really, really excited for her. And, that's somewhere else. So, and maybe things will, start in other places, but we haven't seen that so far.
I wouldn't be surprised if people from other colleges or community colleges started calling and asking for your advice.
We would love it. And, we have done a lot of consulting for people just because we want other communities to be successful. We're happy to give as much information as we can to other organizations or other individuals or other schools that might be thinking about this. We're happy to share kind of our experience and our challenges and, some of the successes that we've had.
Are there any other students whose work you want to talk about?
Yes, so there's several. So I don't want to,
single
anyone out. But we did have a young woman who came through the C&M culinary program. She did the internship with us. She worked for us for a bit. And then COVID happened. But what happened at that time is that it gave her an opportunity to really think about her own business and what she wanted to do. So she was a vegan business, and she specializes in New Mexican vegan. And somebody had reached out to us because they had a trailer that had been used surprisingly as a vegetarian vegan trailer in another state, but they had it here. They wanted to donate it. And so we asked this woman, so the business is Vigos. We asked Elizabeth if she was interested in the trailer. She said yes. They took it, they remodeled it, and that's how they started their business. And now they have a brick and mortar. She's been acknowledged in different awards. She has, definitely kind of broken through that vegan kind of cuisine, and people really love what she does, and it's because she really loves what she does and she believes in what she does. So she has been incredibly successful, starting, just a small little thing here in our kitchen, then having a little trailer, then having another truck, and now having a brick and mortar. So, yeah, it's been great.
What are your hopes and plans for the project going forward?
Well, one thing for us is that we are in the middle of construction. We are building a new kitchen. It will be a shared kitchen. It's called Barelas Central Kitchen, down in the Barelas community on 4th Street. It will be a place for entrepreneurs to be able to work in the space. And it will be the first time that we have our own education space. We've always had to kind of move around to different places, different locations to do our classes. Right now, we're really fortunate. We've been doing our class at UNM Continuing Education, but it will be the first time we'll have our own kitchen and demo space and be able to support many more entrepreneurs than we are right now in the kitchen we're in. So that's a huge piece of our programming and our focus for this year. We're hoping to open at the beginning of 2024. So that's a big kind of milestone and a big thing for us. We really hope to be able to expand our program beyond just Albuquerque. I think, whether it's in other counties here in New Mexico and then beyond, I think that's really the goal for us, is to support as many entrepreneurs as we can and provide the resources and support that they need to be successful. Because when they're successful, we're successful. That's just, that's why we're here, is to help entrepreneurs as they both launch and scale their business.
Have you developed relationships with farmers and ranchers in the region?
Yeah, we have. We typically, especially once like the downtown growers market opens, Silverleaf has been some place that we do a lot of our produce purchasing from. We've actually been, for the last couple of years, we have a partnership with RFK Charter School, and they have a farm, and they are part of the YCC, the Youth Conservation Corps. And so we have been working with them for the last couple of years. And this year is the first year they're actually growing for us, particular types of produce that we use in our catering. We have, developed different relationships for different types of things. So Sweet Mercy Farm has been somebody that we've used especially for pork belly and our pork products. When we do different events, we've been a part of the Green Chili Cheeseburger Smackdown through Edible. We've won 3 times, and
oh my goodness.
Yeah, so, and we always are utilizing local meat from different ranchers in things like that, as well as when we do our catering, we really work with local ranchers and farmers to procure for different types of events that we have.
So really, the economic development extends beyond the people who are operating and working in the food businesses, and also to those people who provide and source the food.
For sure. I mean, I think everybody knows that when you keep your money within your community, it just grows, right? And we really try to make sure that our students think about that as they are doing their business and doing their business model. How do you, kind of keep your money within your own community? Because that's really where economic development can really be successful and soar. It's when you're doing that within your own kind of community and not, sourcing from large corporations or out of state kind of things. And it's not always possible. I mean, to be honest, it's not always possible. But I think at where it is possible, that's the hope. I think the other piece of it is making sure you're utilizing every bit of what you have. And I think, my chef is so passionate about that part of it. Don't throw anything away. How do you, when you're using carrots, how can you take the tops and the leaves and turn it into something? How do you, all of that composting from your vegetables, that's your stock. You don't have to go buy stock. You make it right there. Everything, he's been saving the eggshells now and turning it into fertilizer for gardening. So that's the one thing I really, really appreciate. One of the many things I really appreciate is not only does he do that and think about it for our organization, but also shares that knowledge with the students. Because at the end of the day, that's money in your pocket, right? As a small business owner, you want to make sure that every penny is going into your pocket. And those are some of the ways that you can do that.
Anything else that you've been thinking about or that you want to share with us before we go?
I mean, I'm really appreciative of being able to, have this conversation and share a little bit about what we do. I think that, I'll be honest, I'm not very good at kind of promoting ourselves. I tend to kind of just do the work. But I love to have the opportunity to really talk about not just what we do, but what our students are doing and the good work that they do and the hard work that they do, because it is really hard work. But when you love it, when they say it's not really work if you love what you do. And I've been really, really lucky to have been a part of watching that and seeing individuals' journeys along the way and their successes. So.
And they must come back and say, thanks.
Oh, they do, yeah. I mean, and I appreciate that for sure, but I also know that they're doing the work, right? We may have helped in some way, but the hard work is really theirs. But we have been really lucky that we have had great relationships with our students and that they are always willing to kind of give us a shout out and talk about the program, because who better to talk about it than them, right? They've had the experience. They know what support they've gotten. And so it's been a real blessing, I guess, for me to be a part of this. I'm really grateful for it.
If people want to learn more, where can they find out?
Sure. So, we have a website, www.streetfoodinstitute.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. They can find us there as well. But our website really talks a little bit more about our catering services, but our classes as well, and how to get more information about that.
Tina Garcia-Shams is Executive Director of the Street Food Institute at CNM, Central New Mexico Community College. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Save the date for Regenerate 2023. This conference will be held in Santa Fe, New Mexico, November 1st through 3rd. Regenerate 2023 will explore regenerative agriculture at every scale, from microbial soil communities to social relationships and markets, to our changing climate and everything in between. Come learn how people from all walks of life are innovating on the land, in the markets, and with their communities to bring greater diversity and resilience to this movement. Registration will open in June. Check out the website for more information at regenerateconference.com. You've been listening to Down to Earth. We would love it if you would support this program, which you can do by going to patreon.com/down-to-earth planet to plate, where you can sign up for as little as $3. Patreon is Patreon. And also please rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. The Quivira Coalition is a not-for-profit and a community network of ranchers, farmers, conservationists, scientists, educators, and many others dedicated to regenerative practices that produce healthy food, support meaningful livelihoods, sustain biodiversity, and remedy the impacts of climate change. To learn more about Quivira and how you can support their work, visit quiviracoalition.org, Quivira. And finally, this show is a production with the Radio Cafe. You can check out radiocafe.org to hear back episodes of this show and also find all kinds of other shows on a wide variety of topics as well. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.